You ever stare at a cheap budget UPS, plug it in, and then watch the lights flicker the moment a power dip hits? I've seen that happen more times than I'd like to admit, and the regret that follows replacing a dead unit, losing unsaved work, or worse, having a server crash feels like a punch to the gut. That's why I always hesitate before I click add to cart on any low-priced power strip that claims to be a UPS. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The question I keep asking myself is, does the Eaton 9PX3000RT actually feel like a smarter buy, or is it just another pricey promise? When I first pulled the 9PX3000RT out of the box, the first thing that struck me was how solid it feels, not just in the literal sense but in the way it's meant to fit into a server rack. It's a 3000VA 2700W unit, which puts it in the league of protecting a small server room, a high-end workstation, or a handful of network switches that you can't afford to lose power on. The rack mounting brackets click into place without the need for extra tools, so you can slide it into a 19-inch rack and have it level in seconds. That quick install saves you the headache of fiddling with a freestanding tower that would otherwise take up valuable floor space. Now, let's talk about daily usability. The real-world test for any UPS is what happens during a brownout or a brief outage. I hooked the 9PX up to a workstation running CAD software, a couple of NAS drives, and a small PO switch for a security camera system. When the utility power hiccuped, a common event in my area, the UPS kicked in instantly, and the LCD, or the optional display panel, depending on your configuration, showed the load hovering around 45%. That's well within its sweet spot, and it gave me roughly 12 minutes of battery time before I could safely shut everything down or wait for the grid to stabilize. In practice, that buffer is more than enough for most small businesses. You can finish a print job, close a database, or simply ride out the glitch without a panic. One of the hidden trade-offs I discovered is the battery life expectancy. Like any sealed lead-acid battery, the internal packs will lose capacity over time, especially if you run the unit close to full load on a regular basis. Eaton recommends a battery replacement every 3 to 5 years, which is a cost you have to factor into the total ownership. If you're planning to run the UPS at 80% or higher load for extended periods, the runtime shrinks dramatically, and you'll feel that when you try to power a server farm at peak usage. So the 9PX is a brilliant protector when you size it correctly, matching the load to about 3050% of its rating, but it can become a disappointment if you overload it. Who should buy this thing? If you run a small office with a dedicated server, a high-performance workstation that handles video editing, or a network closet with critical routers and switches, the 9PX3000RT is a solid choice. Its double conversion topology, meaning it constantly regulates voltage rather than just riding the line, protects against the subtle sags and surges that cheap line interactive models miss. It also offers network management capabilities, so you can monitor battery health and load remotely, something IT admins appreciate when they're not physically at the rack. For anyone who can afford a mid-range UPS and wants the peace of mind that comes with a reputable brand, this model checks the boxes. On the flip side, if you're a home user who only needs to keep a desktop and a router alive for a few minutes, you're probably overpaying. A smaller 1000VA unit would handle that scenario with a lighter price tag and a less bulky footprint. Likewise, if you're looking for a UPS that can sustain a full load for an hour or more, you'll need to step up to a larger capacity or add external battery modules, which the 9PX line does support but adds cost and complexity. In those cases, the 9PX3000RT might feel like a mismatch. Let's break down the practical strengths. First, the power quality is rock solid. The output is a clean sine wave, which means sensitive equipment like servers, storage arrays, and even medical devices won't complain about distortion. Second, the unit's efficiency at partial loads is respectable. You won't see a huge power draw just to keep it idle, which keeps your electricity bill from ballooning. Third, the built-in communications ports let you tie the UPS into your existing monitoring software. Think of it as adding another sensor to your data center dashboard. Finally, the physical design is robust enough to survive the occasional bump in a busy rack aisle. The metal enclosure feels like it can take a few knocks without rattling. Weaknesses are mostly about expectations versus reality. The UPS is heavy, easily over 70 pounds, so if you ever need to move it, you'll need a second pair of hands or a small dolly. The noise level, while